Thanks for coming out tonight to learn more about Niagara Transit and our spring updates. I'd like to introduce the Niagara Transit staff on this call. We have Carla Stout, our general manager. We have Jordan Hamilton, our chief of staff. Leah Tracy, our communication consultant. JJ Perot, who is our web and social media coordinator, and myself, Wendy Middleton, the community engagement advisor. Before we get started, I wanted to share that this online event will be recorded and will be available afterwards on YouTube. We have 3 areas that we'd like to highlight this evening, which is customer service hours, Niagara Falls, Niagara Transit Plus expansion, and our Fort Erie Route 751. We welcome questions specific to the spring updates. Questions can be shared through the chat feature. You can find that option at the top of your screen. These questions will be answered in real time by our communication consultant, Leah Tracy, and we expect everyone to be respectful with their questions and commentary. Those who are not will be removed from the town hall. If you have any questions that are not related to the spring updates, please reach out to our customer service team through the Contact Us feature on our Niagara Transit website. The customer service team is well versed in our family of services. If they're unable to answer your question, they will share it with the appropriate Niagara Transit staff for follow-up. I'd like to thank Carla for walking us through these updates and answering our questions posed during this call. And I'll give it over to you now, Carla.
Thanks very much, Wendy. All right, so just to get us started, before we share some slides, just a heads up to anybody who is watching that this is our first foray into this kind of a format, giving out this information on changes to upcoming service levels online in a town hall format. So we're excited about being able to do this and provide it and then also post it so people can refer to it. But if we run into glitches, thank you for being our guinea pigs this evening, and we'll appreciate any patience that we have to ask of you through this process. So if we can bring up the slides, please. Thank you, JJ. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about three impending changes that are coming, not only just to give you information about what is going to change, but about why, right? So why the changes. Our customer service or our customer experience department is our newest department at Niagara Transit. The customer experience department has been in place for 2 years, and the customer service hours that were installed, I believe in May 2024, were originally installed as a pilot to understand, once we amalgamated, what do our customers need? When we amalgamated Niagara Transit on January 1st, 2023, if you're a regular rider, you know that the hours of customer service city to city differed. And so we went to work trying to figure out, you know, what did the new transit need, right, for customer contact or customer care? So what was put in place was customer service, either at a frontline counter or on the phones, for the entirety of the time that we were in operations. So that's from generally between 7 a.m. And 11 p.m. at night on regular service days, Monday to Saturday, and then our Sunday hours. So we've run those hours of operation in our customer experience department. So customer service, whether you were on the phone with us or you were at a ticket counter, was running for those hours for the last 2 years. And one of the things that we've discovered over the last 6 months of getting all of the information and the data out of the stats on how many people attended at our counters and how many phone calls we were taking during particular hours through the day, is that we were over delivering, over providing service in the evening that just was not being absorbed by our customers. So we have decided to scale back our customer service in person. And that is going to start Sunday, May the 3rd in 2026. So that's coming up. From Monday to Saturday, our counters and our calls are going to be answered and taken from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And on Sundays and holidays, we're going to be providing those services from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we're going to be providing those at our already established terminals, the St. Catharines Downtown Terminal on Carlisle Street and Welland Downtown Terminal on Main Street. If you're a rider in Niagara Falls, you know that Niagara Falls has never really had a terminal since the old Niagara Transit moved off Bridge Street. So where we had essentially a terminal or a customer service kiosk was at the Morrison Dorchester hub. We are not going to continue to keep that open after May the 3rd because it just did not have the traffic that necessitated us keeping that open as a storefront. You are still going to be able to buy passes in Niagara Falls, obviously. There are a myriad of locations across Niagara Falls where you can pick up your passes. And thank you, JJ, for going over to Transit Fair outlets. We have a lot of outlets throughout Niagara Falls, not the least of which is at our location on Heartland Forest Road. But we have a lot of store partners vendoring our passes for us for you. So if you do run into an instance where you're having a hard time finding a location, it is available on our website at niagaratransit.ca. Or you can give us a call and one of our customer experience folks will give you a hand. Thank you very much, JJ. So if we can zoom in, yep, on Niagara Falls, or you can zoom in, sorry, on Niagara Falls, and that'll give you an indication of exactly where you can find our fair media. Thanks, JJ, I appreciate that. That's great. And just a reminder, our website it really is your best resource when it comes to finding out information exactly like this about, our outlets or our services. Next slide, JJ. So the next, I guess, service delivery change that we're going to talk about is the microtransit zone. And connection hubs in the city of Niagara Falls. And I'll take this opportunity to go back in a little bit of the Wayback Machine. Niagara Falls, before the amalgamation of transit, has always had conventional transit inside their urban boundary. So that's where the routes run inside the city boundary. And that's exactly where they provided specialized service as well on their former Charavan service. So where you see routes here on the map in front of you, that's where the service existed prior to amalgamation and as it exists today, right? So that's where the buses go, and where the buses go, that's where Charavan service or our microtransit and specialized service is provided now. What's going to change is the area served here. So the grayed out area that you see surrounding the entirety of the urban core of the city of Niagara Falls used to have no service whatsoever. That is going to change. So we're excited about having that develop over the next week, where we are going to be introducing service in rural and more extended areas of Willoughby and South Chippewa, as well as in the north end, as far north as Fireman's Park and the Portage area. What that means is that if you are a person who has a disability and is eligible for specialized transit, and or if you would like to start booking microtransit, which is our on-demand service, you can do that in those areas now to make connections into the conventional bus network. Specialized services do provide door-to-door service, but curb to bus service is what is anticipated to be provided on the on-demand component of our microtransit in this area. JJ, can we go back to the slide, please, with regards to the hubs? So this is a brand new concept for the city of Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls has had specialized transit for over 50 years and certainly had conventional transit longer, but they've never had microtransit or an on-demand component to their transit. So this is going to be a learning curve for our residents in these areas in Niagara Falls. And what you need to know about how this works is that you're going to be booking those trips either on our NT Plus app, and you can download that, and you can download it right from our website, or you can download it in your Google Store or your App Store on your Apple phone. The NT Plus app is where you're going to book your trips, and or if you don't have an app or that is untenable for you to utilize, we do have booking agents at our 1-833 NRT line number that will take your bookings and book those trips for you and work with you to do your trip planning. When you are booking an on-demand component trip, you're going to be taken to one of our 4 hubs in Niagara Falls to ensure that you are connecting into a bus or connecting onto a bus. And we're going to have those hubs available at the Town and Country Plaza, which is in Stamford Center, at the Morrison Dorchester hub, at Main and Ferry, at the hub there, or at Canadian Drive, and or what everybody knows as the former Niagara Square, or where Costco is. And how the hubs work is that's primarily where most of our routes, our conventional routes or bus routes, converge, right? Inside the city, either in the north end or in the south end of the city. That's where the most amount of buses become available for you to connect to and to get into the system and get around the city where you need to go. If you are a specialized customer or someone with a disability that does take conventional transit, again, a reminder, there is not a vehicle in our fleet that is not accessible. So you are not going to have any barriers with regards to any mobility issues or mobility devices coming on board a conventional bus. Thanks. Next slide. Perfect. Okay, so here we go with Route 751 in Fort Erie. Niagara Transit is reintroducing a community bus in the town of Fort Erie. Hourly service begins this Monday on April 27th, and that hourly service commences at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it is going to run until 11 o'clock at night, and that's Monday to Saturday service. The route, as you see here, was built using real data from the Niagara Transit Plus trip data. So the on-demand service that is currently provided and the specialized trip service that is currently provided in Fort Erie informed the development of this route. It looks familiar to some of the Fort Erie people who used to take the old Fort Erie Transit before 2021, because it's pretty darn close to what used to be called the Green Route. There's a few changes here and a little bit of a difference in the directional orientation of the route to make the route function a little quicker for people who are just trying to get into what we would consider the Garrison Corridor or at the Smart Center. But overall, it should look fairly familiar for people who have been on the bus in Fort Erie before. This fixed route integrates with Niagara Transit Plus. So just like we talked about the microtransit service that's being introduced in Niagara Falls in more rural and smaller community areas, the Fort Erie Microtransit Zone has been in place for quite a while. I believe the microtransit was introduced, or on-demand transit was introduced in Fort Erie in 2021. We had taken that contract over and had a new provider start to provide that service in Fort Erie in 2024. And that service is going to be completely integrated with the route. And what I mean by integrated is you are still going to be booking vans if you live outside of the Route 751 area. You are still going to be booking on your app and or talking to a booking agent. You're still going to be making your trips. Your trips are now going to take you, if they fall outside of the Route 751 area, they're going to take you directly to your destination. But if your destination is within the confines of the new Route 751 area, that van is now going to take you to one of these central hubs in Fort Erie. And our hubs are located, of course, at the Leisureplex Town Hall, at the Smart Center, aka Walmart No Frills, and at the Gilmore Library. So the Gilmore Library on Central Avenue. Thanks, JJ. That's very helpful. So again, microtransit is not going away. It is not disappearing. Microtransit is a big part of the next iteration or the next step of what transit is going to look like in Fort Erie. And, you know, all residents, every resident in Fort Erie is going to continue to have access to transit service. Again, you may be taken to a hub to continue your journey on a bus. Or you might stay on the van because of, you know, what your origin or your destination is. But nothing is disappearing on you. I think actually, you know, and I'll make a mention here, also on the website, we are formerly here in Fort Erie, the only place that you could purchase passes to use the system was at Town Hall. And that is changing as well. So for the convenience of riders along the Route 751, and people who are transferring on and off it from the microtransit system, we're going to be providing new locations where you can buy fare media. So you can buy your passes in town. Do we have that information, JJ? Thank you so much. And I believe where we're going to have passes available is at Avondale's. So if you have a local Avondale, and I'm thinking if you're from Fort Erie, you know the Avondale at the top of Jarvis Street at Central Avenue, you are now going to be able to access FarePass media there, right? So not just, you know, making an hourly route more reliable and more flexible for riders across Fort Erie, but also making it a lot more convenient to access your pass media as well. Thanks so much, JJ. So I think it's worth noting that, you know, whether you're in the microtransit zone and you're using the NT Plus app, or you're going to be on the new Route 751 area and you're within walking distance to that bus route, it really is a great idea to download our transit app, right? Transit app is available on your app store, whether you're on, you know, Google Store or Apple. Oh, here we go. He's so way ahead of me. So JJ's showing you right on our website the apps. We couldn't make it easier, or JJ couldn't have made it easier if he tried. Any of the version of the apps that you know, works best for you, whether that's in Google Maps, Trip Planner, or Transit app. After this weekend, or I think actually after tomorrow, all of our real-time information that's going to go live on Monday, when the route goes live on Monday, is going to be available in these apps. So download that app, play around in the app, and start to learn the route, start to book your trips, right? Start to understand how the microtransit is going to integrate with the conventional line and what that looks like, right? What is the timing of that? If you're a rider in Crystal Beach or Ridgeway or in Stevensville, what does it look like now? And which one of, the hubs, depending on the trips that you book and the timing and the number of people that you're ride sharing with, how does that work, right? Like, how is this going to actually integrate? Educate yourself. And if you need help, give us a call. Please give us a call at 1-833-NRT-line. That's why our customer experience folks have been talking Fort Erie route for weeks. Feel free to give them a call and give them a quiz. Thanks very much, JJ. That's great. Next slide. So with the Route 751, let's talk a little bit about when it leaves Fort Erie. So, the whole concept of making sure that transit makes sense for community is making sure that it provides access, right? And access is, not just access inside your community, but access outside your community. And we've had the Fort to Falls intermunicipal route since 2008, right? So it's been on the road for a long time, but it had very limited service, right? Route 22 from the Fort Erie Leisureplex to Niagara Falls Canadian Drive Hub at Niagara Square had limited hours. It had an interrupted service day in the middle of the day, and it went offline at 9 o'clock at night. That is not going to be the case after Monday. It is going to be running the same service day, which is Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. And it's also going to be running on that hourly schedule, right? The smart piece about this part of transit planning is making it make sense for the rider overall to continue their journey to Niagara Falls. So this is what we call creating a one-seat journey. So if I am a rider in Fort Erie and I live at the top end of that green roaded map at Phipps at Robinson, and I start my trip there, if I stay on the bus and I go all the way along the route to Town Hall at the Leisureplex Center, that bus is going to continue on as the Route 22. It is not going to turn around and do the balance of the green route again. It actually continues on up the highway to the city of Niagara Falls, and it terminates at Niagara Square or Costco. Thanks very much, JJ. So what that means is that you essentially will have direct line service right to that location in Niagara Falls. And what that means eventually, probably or hopefully within the next 18 months, is that also means that we are going to have direct access to the stop that's being built at the new South Niagara Hospital as well, for every resident in Fort Erie, right, that takes that bus or connects to that bus from microtransit. So that's what I mean by access. The great news about every regional route and intermunicipal service coming this September, and for the first time ever in Fort Erie, certainly since I started managing transit in Fort Erie in 2003, is that we are going to be adding Sunday and holiday service. So Sunday and holiday service is coming to Fort Erie as well. And that includes that connection up the highway to Niagara Falls, as well as the new Route 751. And that's going to be starting in September. So what JJ's showing you right now is the entirety of our conventional network right now that is going to include the Route 751 and Fort Erie Community Bus. This entire network is now going to run 365 days a year. And that's pretty exciting. And me personally, I think it's pretty exciting for Fort Erie because I do know how long Fort Erie has been asking for Sunday service. So that's great. Back to the slide. Thanks very much. So just total reminder of what we went over. We are going to have Monday to Saturday service starting this Monday until September. And that's going to happen just after Labor Day. So just after Labor Day is when we're going to start the holiday service, right? Sunday and holiday service right after the Labor Day weekend. Route 22 from Niagara Falls interlines with Route 751 at the Fort Erie Town Hall Leisureplex stop. We're going to begin our first Fort Erie trip at 7 o'clock in the morning, leaving the Fort Erie Leisureplex, and we're going to run every hour until 11 o'clock at night. We stop at the Walmart, so we stop at Smart Center twice in one direction on our way north to the north end to Bridgeburg, and then again south on our way back to Town Hall inbound. And we complete the entire Fort Erie route in about approximately 45 minutes. So the time it takes you from Town Hall to Town Hall in the full circuitous route takes you about 45 minutes overall. So when you get to Town Hall, do not expect somebody to kick you off the bus and make a transfer to Niagara Falls. If you stay on that bus, that's exactly where you're going. And just a brief chat about the hubs. The hubs in Fort Erie at Town Hall and the Leisureplex at the Smart Center or between Walmart and No Frills, as well as on both sides of Central Avenue at the Gilmore Centennial Library, both on the east side and the west side, waiting at that location. All of those locations are fully accessible stops. They are well lit. They are safe. They have had shelters and new shelters placed that are in good repair, and they should be comfortable for you if you're waiting for that connection to a bus, right? If you're coming from a microtransit stop or if you're just waiting for the bus to come and get you there. The bus is going to look different. It's a much bigger bus than Fort Erie has ever been used to before, but we hope that it's comfortable and to ensure that you have the information you need when you get on and allow our driver to drive. We are going to have ambassadors on the bus for the first few days to help people navigate, working around a much larger fare environment or using, different fare technology or the new box if you're not used to using that. So that's pretty much what I had to share. Totally open for questions. If anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask. But thanks for your time. And again, if you walk away or you see this on YouTube and you think I really didn't get my question answered, absolutely take the time to connect with one of our customer experience professionals. They're fantastic and and they've been quizzed. So feel free to give them a ring. Yes, and thank you, Leah. Questions need to be added to the chat. So if you do have a question, get it in there. I know, Wendy, that we did have some questions prior. Some folks had put some questions in through the polling. Is there anything that I haven't covered that you think might be something that we want to make sure makes it into the posted webinar?
I'm taking a look right now just to make sure. Okay, here's one.
Great.
I'll just read it out to you.
Perfect.
The Fort Erie bus prior, you could flag down the bus anywhere along the route. Will this be happening with the new bus system?
Great. Awesome question. So what that rider is referring to is the Old West route and some of the more rural routes that used to be on the old, the smaller 4-bus route system in Fort Erie prior to 2021. And when it would go kind of the country mile between the town of Fort Erie Leisureplex and say Ridgeway, it had to fly down Dominion Road, where not a lot of homes, not a lot of development at the time, that sort of thing. So we would allow people to come out and wave at the bus driver. We called it a flag stop. And you used to wave at the bus driver and they would stop for you. That is not the case on the new Route 751. The Route 751 is built in a town environment. We have appropriate sidewalks, we have appropriate places to put signs, that sort of thing for people to wait for the bus safely. So we're not going to be having flag stopping.
Thank you for that, Carla. And I think another good thing to highlight is there was a question here about no longer having transit that's wheelchair accessible. And just wanted to highlight that nothing is changing for specialized transit. That's still available across Fort Erie. There's no banning of specialized service. That's still an application-based service that's provided across Fort Erie.
Yeah, you betcha. And I know, whenever there's any change, there's challenge, right? Like people, think that if you're giving something, that something must be going away, right? And just to reiterate, nothing is going away. If you're a resident in Fort Erie, you have access to transit, whether you are using microtransit to connect into the bus route or to make your whole trip, or you are a person who is eligible on our specialized transit system, you still have the system that you had today.
And there's another question asking if they can get from Fort Erie to Brock University. And just to highlight, that is possible, because you're just going to stay on the 751, which, as we already know now, turns into the 22. And from there, you're going to make the transfers to get to Brock University. And as Carla was mentioning before, the transit app is a really handy tool to use. It helps to alleviate some of that stress and anxiety from planning your transit trip. So if you're using that transit app, that's going to be helping you get from any of your destinations, but again, specifically to this question, from Fort Erie to Brock University.
Yeah, absolutely. It might be a long trip. It might be a longer trip. It could be an hour plus, but you definitely have connections, right? And much more connection than you had before.
And we did talk about, you did note Sunday and holiday services, and you noted that it would be later on this year where we are going to implement this Sunday and holiday services. So you've covered that.
Just on that, Wendy, the one thing, and you just gave me a little nudge with mentioning specialized service as well. So one of the services that we do provide is intermunicipal specialized transit services, right? So you could be a resident of Grimsby and have appointments or what have you in St. Catharines, or you could be a resident of Lincoln and have an appointment in Welland. And we provide that specialized transit, but at the moment today, it does not run on Sundays and holidays. That is also going to change. When I say that every service is going to be running 365 days a year, that is every service. So it's not just conventional buses making those intermunicipal trips from one community to another. It's also the specialized service as well. And that will happen right after Labor Day. Yeah.
And that's for the question specific to our spring updates, that about covers it.
Okay. No, that's great.
Yeah.
And if anybody is watching this as it's posted, and like I said, if you have questions about other levels of service or just questions about service, please give us a call or peruse the website. JJ has a myriad of information available on there, and he works very hard to make sure that he's trying to capture pretty much anything and everything that gets thrown at the wall around here. So if your customer experience representative cannot answer your question, they're very good about linking you or connecting you to a staff member who can. Absolutely.
I see that JJ and Leah are typing right now, so I might just pause. Thank you, Leah, for putting in the number. Appreciate that.
Perfect.
And if there are no more questions, then I think this town hall has come to an end. And I just want to thank Carla and Leah and Jordan and JJ for their time and effort in putting this together. And Carla, thank you so much for walking us through these changes and these updates. I know that we appreciate it, as does the public. So again, I'm just going to reiterate what Carla had said. If there's any questions that were left unanswered or something piques your curiosity after the town hall, please reach out to the phone number that Leah's posted in the chat, or you can reach out via our contact us option on our webpage. So that's niagaratransit.ca. And so I guess that brings this to a close, and thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate your time.